Western and African cultures are a little bit different, especially when it comes to PDAs. Is it something that we should be doing in the church, or is it something that is just a taboo? Hello and welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya Onesisespanda, and I hope that you've been having a great time and you've been enjoying all the other episodes that we've been putting out. And for the woman who's actually been journaling with us, who's been healing with us, who's been praying with us, welcome home. And for the new person who's come in, welcome to the community, and I hope that you enjoy all the episodes and you will get feedback from you on each topic and what you think. So let's just dive right into it. So today our topic is PDA a sign of having a healthy relationship, or it's just a taboo? In the African setup, it's sort of like a little bit taboo for people to actually be showing a little bit of PDA, because we'll get into why all of those things. But the reason why is I grew up in a traditional church. Our church is that one kind of church where no one sits with their spouse. It doesn't matter whether they've been married 20 years, they've been married 30 years. It doesn't matter whether they just got married. You don't see them just sitting together. Or if they are sitting together, like sort of like a little bit of distance. I don't know why the distance will be there. So, it was always like the kind of norm that I was so exposed to. I thought that's how it is. You see women sitting on their own side, men on the, I'm not saying like there's a division where women sit here, men sit there, no. But it's sort of like those unknown rules or what, men sit together there. Even if it's just a two lines, therefore there will be a little group of women. And even if others are sitting next to each other, a woman and a man, you might find that they do not even know each other. That's how it is. Sort of like we come together from our houses. When we get to the gate, see you after the church service. I go my way, you go your own way. You go with your own friends, I go with my own friends. It sort of like made it in such a way that spirituality wasn't something that people shared together when they are together. It's something that they had their own individual walk to Christ, and the other person had their own individual walk to Christ. And you find that even people, when they're coming to church, you'll be like, are they even coming from the same house? Because the other one arrives now, the other one arrives 5 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, or even 30 minutes later. And then, it's sort of like those kind of norms. That's what we're used to. We grew up thinking, okay, that's it, that's how it is. But then I went to this church, I was visiting this church, and I was sitting next to this older couple, and it was time for prayers. They were praying, and then they were holding each other's hands. They were kneeling together, they were holding each other's hands, they were praying together. And then afterwards, when they were done with it, they continued holding each other's hand during the church service. They would just, after someone, the pastor says something, the other one whispers something, they all chuckle and they all smile. I was like, okay, this is a little bit different. This is not what I'm used to from my own church. And then I'm like, but this is so beautiful. How come people are not doing it? This is so beautiful. Like, you see that they're experiencing God together. You see that throughout the whole service, the service is not just for their own individual, like the other person experiences. Yes, they do experience it in their own individual, but they also experience it together. And I really like that. And I found that it made, I thought, this should be, they're sharing their spiritual journey together, so they might be growing together. And then I was like, okay, so in relationships, most of the times, especially when you're single, you're praying for a man, like, God, I want a God-fearing man. Number one, I want a God-fearing man. I want a man who's done this. I want a man who can lead. A man, in your words, I want, our finances, we're putting them to you. Everything, you're putting them to you. But then when the relationship starts, we start to experience those things individually. And that was one of the reasons why another relationship that I had actually broke up. Not because of anything, but because spiritually we're not growing together. We're growing in other things together, but we forgot to put the spirituality in there. And then, if that is the case, so if people need to experience and they grow spiritually together, now, is this something that they should be doing? Is it PDA something that they should be sharing, especially in the church setup? Okay, like a lot of people share their PDAs outside, but not in our culture. Our culture is very weird. No PDAs out there. But then in the church, is it something that is it a way of showing that people are in a healthy relationship? Is it showing their spiritual growth together, or is it just for show off? That is what I wanted us to talk about today. Now, the first question that I might ask myself, like, okay, let me try to understand the people that I have, especially in my traditional church, who do not show that, like when they get to the church, the other person goes their own way, the other person goes their own way. And then in their way, like, why is it that they're not showing that sitting together, staying together, being together? I felt like maybe they're afraid of the community judging them. The community might really judge, like especially we as the community. Whenever someone says like community, you always think like, oh, community, people out there. We are the community. We are the people who get to judge you whenever you do something like, they're showing us as if they are these holies. They want to show off their marriage as if their marriage is the one which is like the perfect model. What? They didn't even say anything, but we're continuing just judging. So in that case, that is why most people wouldn't want to share their journey together in public, because they're afraid of us as the community judging them and thinking that they want to put themselves as the ideal kind of relationship, spiritually growing, and then we tend to be judging them. So they do not want to be judged, so they would rather not do it because they are afraid of being judged. And then the other thing is because of how norms have been, like church culture. Church culture has always been like, you do not sit with your husband, you do not hold hands with your husband when you're praying. That's how church culture is like. So even if you get married today, you sort of like engrafted into that culture, and then at the end of the day you do not do it. Not because maybe you have never thought about whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, but then at the other end, like, okay, if that is the case, then let's just leave it, because this is how the church culture has always been. This is how other people have been married. This is how they have been doing it. So therefore, we're also going to join the club, so that we can be part of the club and be like everyone else. Because if we try to stand out and be a little bit different, people will look at us in another way, and we do not want that happening to us. And then the other thing might be because even if when you guys were in a relationship, you did not actually share that spiritual journey together. If you didn't share that spiritual journey together, that person grew spiritually on their own, the other person grew spiritually on their own. So at the end of the day, you're not really clicking in that way. So experiencing it together is not something that is there. That is one of the reasons why a lot of people might not really want to show. And other people, maybe they're shy and they're not really comfortable sharing their lives openly with other people. That might be the reason why other people might be doing that. But then let's not judge people on how they see their lives. But then what I would really like is, if you are doing all of those things, if you are not showing any kind of PDA, especially in church, and if you are not, if you are not showing PDA in the church, and if you are not being part of it all, make sure that you are doing it not out of culture or out of following other people, but you're doing it because this is what makes you comfortable and this is how you want your life to be, not because you've been forced into a situation where you don't want. You might find that maybe you want to show the PDAs that other people are showing out there, but because you're afraid of what people will say, therefore you're not showing. Then that is a red flag or a problem that will be happening. Now, the other thing is why other people may want to share their relationship. Other people want to experience that spiritual life together. They want to experience it together. They want to feel the other person growing and walking with them in their journey. That is why they might feel that they want to show the PDAs. You find that they're holding hands, they're hiking through when they are praying. During church services, they're together and all of that. So to them, they want to share that spiritual journey with a significant other that they have, and they want to be with them throughout. And the other thing is why people might be showing is other people might be showing it because they want to show off. They want to show off like we're in a healthy relationship, we're in a healthy relationship. Look at us, we're the ideals, you're not the ideals, and that might be the other reason. But then all of those things, people have to be really comfortable in what they decide. It is up to you. You should not be conformed into what culture is saying and be conformed into what something that you're not comfortable with, all because you want to fit in to what other people are doing or what other people are saying. What you need to do is you make something that is ideal for you, and do not put a public display of affection as a way to say that is how we measure how healthy relationships are. Public display of affection is not a measure of how healthy a relationship is. You might find that there are other people who show a lot of PDAs out there, and then you'll be like, they are holding each other's hands, they are and they're hugging, they're kissing, they're doing all of those things in public, but then in the private sector, they're not really clicking. So do not put it as a way to measure how healthy or unhealthy a relationship is. There are some people who might be in a very, very healthy setup, but then they are not comfortable with showing all of that. And then there are people who actually be showing, yes, they are looking all good and cute and like relationship goals out there, but then at the end of the day, they in the background, they are not really there. Right. So now do not measure your relationship with other people's relationship. Do not put a public display of affection as a way to measure how healthy or unhealthy a relationship is. But then at the same time, let's be open to new ideas. I do not know why we are always saying it's always taboo. Like most of these things, like most of these traditional churches, they do not even want to consider it. Like, let's open up to these things so that we can experience it together. Like, I know there are some things where maybe we grew up and that wasn't common, but now, like, let's open up. If you really want to try it out so that, the next generation that comes, they do not feel like it's a little bit taboo when people show public display of affection. Because the way that culture is because of how people have made it to be. So if people have made it to be so, then the next generation comes and think that's how it is and how it is. So if you want to show a public display of affection, even if it starts out being awkward, but make sure to show it out there. The reason is I feel like I am at a point in my life. Before, I always thought like, oh, it's taboo. But then with the way I've grown now with all this, I feel like it's something that I really can be able to look into and then maybe, try it out. And I feel like that is what was missing mostly in my relationship, the growing together spiritually, because we're always growing further apart in terms of spiritual lives, because I was experiencing it on my own and the other person was also experiencing it on my own. And then the other thing is the reason why other people don't want to show it is because they want to feel single out there. I know. Like, maybe they're not really sure about you. Some other people may do that. Maybe they're not sure about you, whether they should be showing you in public and what. So therefore, they would rather just avoid it. And others, maybe they don't want to hurt the other people that they were in a relationship with before by showing, or sort of like as if they are rubbing their happiness in their faces. But when it comes to a relationship, if you're in a relationship with a person, you shouldn't worry about what other people's feelings are. I'm not saying just going around trampling on other people's feelings, no, but be open to, putting the relationship first before your ex's feelings or other people, what other people might be hurt because of that. So like, I don't know, just look at it, try it out, and you'll see that growing together spiritually is something that, we should experience together. And now there's nothing great, there's nothing better than you're in a relationship with someone. Maybe you experience something spiritually together at some point, you discuss about it, right? And then preacher says something, which is similar to what you guys were studying before, or what you guys were saying before about, and then you look at each other and smile because there is that real connection. It sort of like bonds you together. So let's look into making sure that we bring in the spiritual aspect, especially in the relationship, and not just be saying, okay, we'll pray about it before, but then when you are now in the relationship, you grow your own way, I'll grow my own way, we'll meet together somewhere. It's sort of like one of the things that make people to divert and not really come close together. So make sure that you look into it. And you might never know, you might like it, I might like it, you might like it, and at the end of the day, you find that we're growing people or children that understand the value of growing together spiritually. I'm not saying the PDAs will be like the ultimate ways of how people will grow together. No, having the Bible studies together, having prayer times together, having all of those things together, and that kind of things, it also bonds you together. Look into it. I'm not saying if you are doing it, then you're not going to be doing it, then you guys are weird. No, but look into what can make you grow spiritually with the other person or the significant other that you are in. And if this makes you happy, do it. Be open to new ideas. And you can never know. You grow together. So that's all that I had for you today. And I hope that you like, subscribe, and share with someone that you think will benefit. And tell us, what's the culture like at your church? Do people show public display of affection, or people are so anti-public display of affection? Tell us what you think is the way and how you think we should all grow together. That's all that I had for you today. See you next time. Bye.